you guys. Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm making another video about my journey out of Calvinism with a totally different approach. Not because I want to keep on making these videos, but because it's 6 years this month, November 2019, that I came out of Calvinism, and it is surreal. It feels like another life. And I have always wanted to make a video about the psychological side of things and how we as humans are affected psychologically when we leave a system of beliefs, religious or not, that really becomes part of who you are, your identity. Even if you don't realize it, it is what happens when you're in the system. You do take it on as a part of your identity. And you don't really realize it until if you leave, and how life altering it all is, and what a shock it is, and then all the things you go through after. I have talked to many people throughout the years that have left Calvinism, and I've tried to lovingly warn them that they're about to face some roller coaster of emotions, unexpected reactions from people, losing friendships, so many things. And most of the time they sound just like I did. No, that's not gonna happen. No, totally innocently naive to the reality of how deep this all goes. And then once they start their journey, they start to realize how hard it's gonna get. And of course, I'm there as a loving listener for several people that have contacted me through the years. And the only thing I can leave them with is, I know this is horribly hard, but there is no way out. You have to let it run its course. You have to just walk through it. Cling to the Lord. He will carry you and see you through it. And there is peace on the other side. And it's going to be years. That's what I tell them, because that's just the honest truth. And it's really hard to imagine that, but it's just the honest truth. And in some ways I am over most of everything, and in some ways I'm not, and that's okay. The journey continues, but because of what I've learned up till this point, I can face the continuation of the journey confidently, knowing that the Lord is going to continue to sustain me, continue to take care of me, provide for me, and carry me through, and be my comfort and my friend and my anchor, my solid rock. So those are the lessons. Those are the faith builders, the strengthening that comes out of situations like this. When you face each phase of the exit, it's hard to know how to handle it. I know how I handled it, and I'm very aware, and I have a ton of grace on myself, that I needed to walk through what I walked through, and it was part of the healing process. And it's just hard. It's hard, it's unpredictable, it's hard to know how to walk through something that is unlike anything you've walked through before, feeling ways you've not felt before, and then knowing how to walk through that wisely and well, without tripping up and making mistakes along the way. So I have a ton of grace for myself. I don't condemn myself for any of it. I can easily see how outsiders looking in could have identified what I was going through, just like I can now identify what other people are going through. But at the same time, when you're an outsider looking in, if you know what someone's going through, you also know they're just gonna have to go through it. I can't swoop in and save them. This is what they have to go through. It's part of the healing. It's just part of it. And so embracing that and hanging on to the Lord and moving forward, taking one day at a time, knowing that it's a long road ahead, but in the end it'll be okay. So much more I can say. This is why I wrote up some things to share with you so that I won't ramble too much. If you're new here, welcome. Please like, subscribe, share this video if it is helpful to you, or if you know someone that it might be helpful to. I don't think I'm going to make an annual coming out of Calvinism video. I made one last year. It was 5 years out. I just shared a little bit of the journey, But I've had a lot more time to research more psychological concepts and identify what I walked through and how it manifested in my life. And so that's kind of the angle I wanted to share with you guys today. So 6 years ago, I walked away from Calvinism, the belief system. I had been a part of that for almost 2 decades. So I was a Calvinist for 19 years total, but I was a part of one church for 17 years total. The majority of my adult life. Got married, 1 month newlywed, went to this church, had our children there, raised our children there. The beginning of my adult life, 17 years, that's where I was. If you have ever left a strong ideological or religious framework, you know it is never just the theology. It's identity, it's belonging. It's how you make sense of God, yourself, and the world. So when all of that changes, you go through a psychological journey that I didn't have words for, but now I feel like I've developed some words for. Today I want to talk about that journey, not in a way that bashes people or systems, but in a way that validates the very real, emotional, spiritual, and relational process that many of us go through when our beliefs change. So when I first left Calvinism, I went through what Calvinists jokingly call cage stage. I've called it cage stage too. So I had, this is what's happening during this cage stage, cognitive dissonance relief. So you break from a belief system and it shaped my entire worldview. So my mind, your mind wants to prove the new perspective is the right one to reduce the internal conflict. This is a psychological whirlwind, and I really try to be guarded about this because I want to approach the Bible searching for ways to disprove Calvinism. That wasn't the point. I approached the Bible searching for truth, and whatever that truth is what I would be okay with. So these are mistakes that I see people make, and I didn't want to make them. Identity reinforcement. You're not just exploring new ideas, you're trying to stabilize a sense of self that just cracked open. And then emotional rebound. There's so many emotions that happened. I was angry at myself for having fallen for this false system. I was angry at the actual teachings. I also felt an intense urgency to tell everybody. And this is what cage stage is best known for, that feeling of you want to tell everybody what you just were woken up to. Everybody needs to know. And it doesn't mean that it's done in a passionate way. It can be done in a very calm way. It's what's going on the inside. If you feel an intense urgency to tell everybody about what you have just figured out, you're in cage stage. And it's not just Calvinism. This can happen with any topic. These are all normal things that we go through after a long-term conformity. Cognitive dissonance relief, identity reinforcement, and emotional rebound. So I wanted to talk to everyone. I wanted to debunk everything. I wanted to highlight all the flaws in Calvinism and set people free, save people from this false system. I was not trying to be harsh at all. I was not trying to be argumentative and debate for the sake of being right. I think it's an internal battle, war that's happening inside of you, and it just comes out. I think what we're doing when we're doing that, when we're going through that, is trying to regain equilibrium, because we are so taken off guard and shocked at the realization that you have been believing something wrong for so long. So it is definitely world flipped upside down kind of feelings. And whether I knew it or not, I was going through psychological stuff. Now in hindsight, I can see that. In the middle of it, it's like, what is happening, you know? So as time passed, the intensity faded, but it lasted a long time. They did ask me to not talk about it at my church. So then I had people outside of my church that I would talk to about it, but every single day for a long time. And then I had some people that I would have dinner with that's what we would talk about when we got together. It was not easy to just move on and never talk about it again. I was still in that I need to process all of this and talk about all of this every day, all the time. And it was very healing. It was definitely, I remember it feeling like a need and like therapy. But I also felt, I can't wait till I don't feel like talking about this all the time. I remember feeling that way. I would go to certain families' house for dinner and they needed it too, because they were in the middle of the same thing. So we were like there for each other. But then when we would leave, I'd be like, I cannot wait till that is not like all we talk about. I don't want this to become the foundation of our friendship. But then when we were together again, it was like impossible not to. It was obviously extremely necessary for both of us. And I think it was very healing for both of us. Now they're out of it, I'm out of it. We can just chill when we hang out now. But it's really wild how we had to like use that time together to go through all this together. So in the beginning, I did used to feel the need to comment on every Calvinistic post. Now, I don't at all. It's fast. I'm so thankful. I stopped feeling compelled to make videos about it. There was definitely a time where all I wanted to do was make videos about Calvinism. But then I also knew I don't want my channel to be devoted to that. But then I couldn't think of anything else I wanted to talk about, so I just had to not make videos for a while. It was so crazy, you guys. In many ways, I feel like I used to feel before I ever left Calvinism, just like totally at peace, steady where I was, confident where I was, never needing to have theological debates. When I was a Calvinist, I was very just calm about it. It's when I came out that everything changed. And now it's almost like going back to that same feeling of just peace, understanding that we all see things different, being okay with that, trusting and respecting that everybody's on their own journey. It's like, what happened? I would love to say how wrong I was back then, but actually, I was actually very stable. And then everything went crazy for a while, and now I feel like I'm back to stable, which is very interesting. So that section, or that part of the journey, is integration, where your past and present beliefs can coexist without the internal war. Yes. Self-trust. You no longer need external validation to feel grounded in your convictions. Relief from hypervigilance. You don't have to constantly defend or explain yourself anymore. And I don't think I felt that as much with the theology as I felt with relationships. But I will say this stage now, it feels like peace. It feels like quiet confidence and being myself again. I feel like myself again. I feel like my craziness is behind me. My cage stage, my internal turmoil from all the loss I went through is behind me. There's a new stage of I'm gonna be okay, moving on, you know? So that's where, you know, the community loss, that literally happened like overnight. I call it the shunning. As a jab, I shouldn't call it the shunning. I don't know what I should call it, but I think it's funny to call it the shunning. But it's unfortunate, but that is what it feels like. So I've shared a little bit about it, but not much. So I did not lose my people, my community, right when I left Calvinism, because I was actually at the church for another 2.5 years. Some of them slowly faded out, some of them were cut immediately. That created its own wave of psychological trauma. My anxious attachment style kicked into high gear. If I could put a picture to how I felt, it was like, wait, like, talk to me, please, like, what's happening? Like, that's how I felt. And that is definitely my attachment style, anxiety attachment style. I'm a pursuer. I want to fix. I have a very soft heart. I bind myself fully with people. My heart is completely in when I love somebody. And so to have just been cut off the way I was awful, awful, awful. Talk about no closure. A million loose ends with zero closure. So I felt the panic of being abandoned by the people I had invested years of my life into. I tried to repair things. I tried to hold on. I tried to find closure. Nothing worked. And then one day, that's it. They were gone. I had to just come to terms with the fact that they were done with me. And I had to embark on that journey. And that was significantly harder than the Calvinism journey. I think that kind of loss is a grief that nobody can prepare for. And it is blindsided to the extreme. So this is not about blaming them, but I do think it's about trying to understand what psychological things they're in. People inside of tight theological and ideological groups, they often operate under subconscious pressure. So there is a group cohesion pressure. Maintaining that unity, it makes you feel holy and like you're doing something right as a group. It's us, you know? It's the us versus them thinking. Anyone outside of the system feels spiritually unsafe. I was definitely outside. I was definitely a stain to be removed, someone to cut off. Then there's the fear of contamination. Leaving is interpreted as rebellion, not growth. So me leaving, us leaving, we're the wrong ones. We left them. So they feel justified to then say, you left us. And then there's the identity fusion. The church is their identity, just like it was mine. Losing someone feels like losing a part of themselves. So I do believe that they viewed us leaving as this horrible loss, like cutting off, you know, a part of themselves. I believe that. But I believe they pity us and they're fearful for us because they think we're falling off the deep end. And that is because of the psychological bondage that they're under. We're trained when you're in a group like that to see anyone that leaves as rebellious. And then authority reliance. If leaders signal relational distancing, the community follows suit. And that's exactly what my husband always says. Everything comes from the top. So it really does. And I do think in very tightly knit groups with a lot of authoritative style leadership, it's going to come from the top, and whatever's modeled is what's going to be followed by the group. And so they're, without realizing it, you know, from the inside, cutting someone off does not feel cruel to them. They think they're doing the right thing. They feel like they're being faithful and obedient and protective of the group. They're stuck in this system and they have psychological bondage. And I wonder sometimes, what would I have done in their shoes? I hope not what they've done, but I don't know. How much of a follower was I in that? I don't know. I never was tested in that way. So there is, you know, psychological stuff on their end as well, and they're blind to it. So the next phase for me was the overcorrection. Another thing that I learned on this journey, when people leave a rigid belief system, they often overcorrect. And so this happens because you want to distance yourself from what hurt you. But I will say, even though I probably did this in a few areas, I remember catching myself. Because I remember this happened to me in Florida when I first became a believer. I was 17, and then I was exposed to Calvinism through John MacArthur. If you've watched my testimony, you know this. And once I realized that I was a Calvinist, I wanted nothing to do with anything I had been taught in my younger years. And that's way overcorrecting. Well, I didn't want to do that now. I'm an adult. I could see what I did. I know it's wrong. Now I can actually acknowledge, hey, some of the stuff I learned in Florida was actually accurate. And I mean, I could acknowledge that even before I left Calvinism. So then now when I face this new change, leaving Calvinism, I didn't want to do the same thing. I didn't want to say everything from my old church was horrible. It's not true. That's just stupid. Like, I'm not going to say that. There's a wonderful list of things that were amazing. And I'm sure some things we might agree on even theologically. The core teaching, no, not at all. That's why I couldn't stay. If it wasn't the core, then maybe I'd still be there. I mean, there were other things that we didn't agree on that were not core, and I was there. So it just goes to show, like, I was on guard for overcorrecting, but it does not change the fact that this is a part of the process for many people, and I probably did it in some ways, even if they weren't huge. But when you go through this overcorrection, you want certainty after losing certainty, and you want structure after losing structure. So all that to say, if you're not careful in this overcorrecting phase, you could just make a lateral move instead of actually grow out of and from what you just came out of, and then just repeat the same thing in a different way. And I was very aware of that. I did not want to just smack on another label and, you know, look at the Bible to just disprove what I just came out of and find everything wrong with it. No. Now, I do think one way that I did fall into overcorrecting, I was a Calvinist for 19 years. I know that we didn't believe God was a monster, but that's an example of one of the kind of arguments that where you try to say it in the most extreme way of hideousness possible so that it sounds so awful, knowing all the while when you were a Calvinist, that's not how you would have said it. That's not what you believe. That doesn't mean that it isn't an implication worth exploring and discussing in a loving conversation one-on-one with somebody. But it is really, really not the best idea to plaster stuff like that online, like you see constantly, and debate with people online in the comment section. It's just like, what is the goal? What is your goal? What are you going to accomplish except anger and hate? There's just no fruit of the Spirit in that whatsoever. So I've had very few online conversations because, first of all, I hate typing. Second of all, I'm not going to be on my phone all day long because I'm busy with my real life. But third of all, because I just don't find it profitable or fruitful in any way. I think nothing good comes out of it. The best conversations are face-to-face with the best intentions for the person you're talking to, and not straw-manning every one of their beliefs by painting it in the worst light possible, but instead steel-manning their beliefs and then tearing it down with scripture. No, but you know what I mean? Like, you want to properly represent what somebody believes before you start challenging it, because then you're just challenging a poor representation of it, and then they're not going to hear you. So if you actually have a goal of actually making progress in a good conversation, you have to be fair in that way. So be careful, you guys. If you find yourself in the overcorrecting phase, you can just make a lateral move and not grow at all from this experience. You can leave one rigid system and just join another. It feels like growth because you're out of the old thing, but really it's not vertical. It's not deeper maturity. It's just swapping one set of walls for another set of walls. And months or years later, people realize I didn't heal, I just relocated. So healing, that's what we're after. And that happens when you move into openness, curiosity, willingness to live with tension, not when you replace one box with another. So the other side of the journey is where I think I'm at now. I can say safely, I rarely, and I mean rarely, think about Calvinism. I don't feel the urge to debate, to argue, or to explain. I don't feel the need to, put comments or correct people on things on Facebook, which happens sometimes, but not a lot because I'm not on there a lot. But every now and then I would see something and I would feel that need, as recently as like a year and a half ago. So even though it was just once in a while I was online, I still would run across those things and feel the need. Now I see it and I just move on. And I have zero urge to say anything. I have grieved the relationships that ended abruptly. I have rebuilt community in healthier, more stable ways. And I've learned that God has never been bound by a system anyway. So I have learned that maturity is quiet, it's peaceful, it's discerning, and it's steady. And I do feel like I said before, I feel like myself again. And it's really, really interesting because on many things I've come full circle because I'm still me. I still feel the same. I still desire to be mature in the Lord, to be wise, to not argue because it's not loving, all these things like that have always been me, but were a little bit interrupted by the shock of my adult life. So if you're watching this and you're leaving some sort of system, or if you've recently left a belief system, a church, or an ideological community, and you're grieving, there is life on the other side, you guys. There really, really is. There is clarity, there is healing, there is identity beyond group approval. And most importantly, God will never abandon you the way that people do. He is the truest friend, and He will not leave you. He will carry you through. He will stand by your side like a faithful, loving friend. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, and He saves the crushed in spirit. Psalms 34:18. I would love to hear if any part of this journey resonates with you, or if you've gone through something similar, or if you're struggling with the grief of losing community or identity. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be the exact encouragement that somebody else needs. I hope that this is the encouragement that someone out there needs. You're not alone. Many people have gone through this and worse, and I wish there were more videos out there about it, honestly. In fact, I want to encourage you to share one, even if it's the only video you ever post. People need to see and hear the process of this kind of change, because it was hard for me to find anything online, and I needed it a lot in the beginning and longer than I realized I needed it. I still, up until like a year and a half ago, would be searching for articles on Shunning, for videos on church hurt, and needed to hear about people's journeys. I needed to be validated and not feel crazy, and I also needed to feel like there was hope on the other side. Even though I knew that in my head, there's just something so wonderful about seeing another person share similar things that you've walked through and hearing them tell you it's going to be okay. There's hope on the other side. The Lord's with you, and there really, really, really is clarity and healing and life on the other side. So I encourage you to be brave and share your story if you have one. Thanks for watching, you guys. God bless you, and see you next time.